my rubbers when it rains, and eat an apple every day, then see the doctor anyway. What if I can't live to love you as long as I want to? Long as I promise you, baby, I'm gonna love you as long as I live. Baby, I can't live to love you as long as I want to. Life is long enough, baby, but I can love you as long as I live. Yeah, maybe I can't give you diamonds and things like I want to, but I can promise you, baby, I'm gonna want you as long as I live. I'll even wear long underwear when winter breezes blow. I'm gonna take good care of me, because a sneeze or two might mean the flu, and I would never, never do. What if I can't live to love you as long as I want to? Long as I promise you, baby, I'm gonna love you as long as I live.
Well, good evening, everybody. Thank you all for coming. Pose for the picture, that's very important. We're very excited to have everybody here tonight. I want to give a shout out, first of all, to our amazing curator, who everybody knows, Angela Fremont. I loved her curator's statement. The motivation for our mothers, the name of the show, was very open. Who are our mothers? More than those who raised us, more than the DNA in our blood, more than the ache, the regret, the mystery, the unanswered questions, right? The lost moments, the anger and forgiveness. That's something each and every one of us has experienced, right? We're all daughters or mothers ourselves, or had a grandmother influence. So how does all this play out in this wonderful show here? How did our mothers shape our identity with love and nurturing and sacrifice, identity, memory, protection? And, you know, the concept of each and every one of us is so highly personal. How does that come out in the work that you see on the walls? I'd like to now introduce you to each of our artists, and we are going to go from right to left. This is your good side, your good ear. All right, and each of our artists, I'll just talk a little bit about who they are. And first, I would like to introduce you to Toto Feldman.
It's good.
I think you're right. You have a good, strong voice.
Okay, so great. I'm a native New Yorker. I grew up in Soho. My mother is also an artist, and I would say that I chose art as much as it also chose me. So I think that's the basics of it.
And there you go. And you have 3 pieces in the show. Am I correct?
Yeah.
If forever anyone didn't get to see everything when our talk is over, please take a good look at the work. Thank you so much, Toto. And next we have Juanita.
Hello, everyone. My name is Juanita Lanzo. I have been in New York for about 27 years. I was born and raised in Puerto Rico, and I came here visual artist, and I'm coming from East Harlem. And that's what I have to say for now.
Okay, and Jody Culkin.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jody Culkin. I'm a visual artist I've been in New York actually since '78, so it's a long time. I'm from upstate, and my background is sort of in sculpture, but I've kind of evolved to doing other kinds of things.
And artists are always evolving. Anybody out here who is an artist knows that it's a continual state of evolving and creating. So I'm going to open up with you because you're to the right of me, Toto. I'm curious on an emotional level, what kinds of things came up for each one of you when you were creating the work?
Well, mine is actually was very specifically a grief project. My mom died in 2019, and I was in a grief group, and my teacher was like just making all kinds of suggestions. We were doing lots of stuff. It was like a group of people, and sometimes it was like journaling or writing specific things. And one of the things was like, she said, you could just paint on the walls of your apartment. And I was like, that seems like a lot of complication, and I probably get my security deposit.
Right, you will get your
So,
security.
yeah, I was like, but I was like, no, but that's good because I'm an artist, so I could do something like that. And I thought I'll make a painting every day. And I was also at the time having really vivid dreams, a lot of vivid dreams with her in them. And so some of none of the ones that are here are that, but definitely in the first, I think I ended up making like 270. So I did that
Amazing.
consecutive days. And I just sort of stopped when I felt like stopping. But yeah, they were all dedicated to her, and some of them had very specific things about her, and some of them were just, what I felt that day. But definitely in sort of the way that my art making is very intuitive and very spontaneous. So yeah.
So it was cathartic for you.
Yes. Also great to have a practice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That you had to do every day.
Totally. Yeah.
That's amazing. Okay, Juanita, what about you? What came up for you when you were doing this?
That's a good question. So I feel like drawing is an extension of everyday life for me. I feel it's the way I communicate feelings. I write. They're very stream of consciousness. The drawing here to my left, actually, I started working. Well, I always drew, but through the pandemic in particular, that was 2020. And before that, I was drawing in around, I don't know, those 2-3 years of whatever that pandemic was. I drew, and I drew in ways that I will never, probably will never again. Anyway, so I started with that, and I was just thinking of, to me, the work, my work revolves around humanity, frailty, the body, feelings. It's very intuitive, so I work in a very intuitive way, like stream of consciousness. So this one is called Bending Well from 2020. This one, it's about like I often do walks in nature, and I like to combine organs and forms in nature like trees, seeds, buds. And I was just thinking of that nurturing element that sustains the body. Like a mother nurturer. So I was just thinking of that, but also going outside of that, the physical aspect of giving birth, that nurturing, life sustaining. So that's how they relate. This is from 2023 actually. So, and I draw every day. So
And every day, this is the kinds of things that you paint.
yes, I work from small, which are quicker to do, to big ones, which
To
take
larger
longer.
ones.
But I work in several drawings all at once, 5, 10, depending, and then I bounce back and
You
forth.
bounce back and forth. That's very impressive. What about you?
Well, the pieces that are in the show are, they're not really about my mother. I had a residency in Venice a couple of years ago, and my project was to do short animations about a number of real and fictional characters who were associated with Venice. So I did a little research while I was there, and I'm kind of finishing it up now. But one of them was Veronica Franco, who was a poet and a courtesan in like the 1600s. And she had this very, very interesting life. And I wanted to do something that showed a little bit of what she did. And the piece that I have here, she's in armor, which I had a lot of fun designing the armor. She was attacked by this other poet who said all these horrible things about her. And so her response in poetic form, of course,
Right.
was to talk about being armed, and if we were armed, we would be able to show our strength and whatever. So this is a still from an animation, you know. The other piece is also a still from an animation. It's a woman called Arcangela Terabati, who was a cloistered nun in the 17th century, who wrote 7 works during this time, which she was forced into the convent by her father because he didn't think he could marry her off. And,
Oh, I hate when that happens.
I know, apparently it happened a lot.
She's going to the convent. It
Yeah. He put her in the convent, like when she was 11. And, you know, one of the works is called Paternal Tyranny, and it really is a lot about forced enclosure, you know, putting women into the convent. And also, she really was mad at the church, too. So she talked a lot about the failures of the male clergy. So,
Well, we all know
that's a
about that,
still
don't we? Those male clergy failures. It's interesting to me. So a lot of what you do, you're interpreting something historical that
Yeah.
actually happened.
Yeah.
That is a very interesting process. So this is crazy. I'm just a normal person that looks at art. How do you know what to paint from that?
It was a little tricky, actually, particularly with the nun, because no one knows what she looked like, because she was in a convent since she was 11 years old, and it was, you know, you don't get out, you know. And I took a lot of photos of the area. The place is still there, but it's the church is condemned, and of course the convent, typical Venice, is condos now. You know?
I know, it's so sad.
Yeah, it is very sad. But I tried to illustrate a couple of quotes. That's what I ended up doing with that one. I mean, for the animation, and because this is also a still from the animation.
From the animation.
Yeah.
So your process is interesting because you take the historical fact, you have an animation, and then you make a still from it. So it's like 3 aspects.
Well, it's, you know, yeah, the still is probably the easiest part.
It
because
is the
then
easiest
you're
part,
just,
yeah.
You know, you just have one picture, you know, one frame of it, basically. And I used photographs of the convent in the background, and I drew her in the foreground. And the other one, I had a picture of Venice that I used in the background. It's a
love
photo. I used a lot of my photos.
But it almost has a surreal quality to
Yeah.
it, which is
Yeah, I was kind of going for that.
we're going for surreal. Both of you brought up the intuitive factor, right? And how did your intuition guide you in this whole process of taking your grief and putting it into your work on a daily basis?
I mean, I think it's mostly just because I decided to have this practice, and that's also kind of just the way my art works. You know, that's the way I work normally. I thought I'll just bring a little, like, the intention is all I have to really know is that the intention is that this is for my mother. And so that kind of brought me some comfort. It brought me sort of purpose in that time when she wasn't physically there anymore. And I very much was feeling her, like, psychically there. So that was a really, like, comforting way of kind of tapping into that and kind of making that something real. But it wasn't like, oh, I have a specific picture or a specific feeling. It was just like, whatever's going on. And I was also, like, things that were happening in the news or whatever kind of mood I was in, or I really love birds. So birds go in.
There's a bird.
Yeah, there's a bird. And I heard someone was saying that cardinals are like the soul of someone.
They have people that come back to visit
Yeah.
are very into
Yeah,
cardinals.
so but this is sort of like a mourning cardinal because it's black. Yeah, so yeah. So
How much of it, when you were in a dream state, because I know about all these things, how much of that dream state in your waking life ended up on the work you created? Did you ever wake up and start wanting to create what you had dreamt about?
Yes, but I do it later. So I wouldn't be like, wake up, do it. It's just if the image was vivid enough, then I might just to help myself, I might like write down some ideas or sketch something. I still do that. But since it was particularly dreams that she was visiting me and I might do something just so I wouldn't remember all the richness of the detail, which tends to like recede super quick. And then I would, because I did these typically at the end of the day.
That's when you were motivated to do
that
it,
was
not in the very beginning of the day.
that was like the practice time. It's like,
do you feel it helped you through your grieving process?
definitely.
Definitely. I think it's a really important thing. We have been talking about grief and all of us who have mothers, right, or grandmothers, we lose them. And one of the things we don't deal with in this country at all is the grieving process, right? And I loved hearing what Toto had to say. She did, as an artist, she had access to this process, but most people don't. And this is something, I'm here with all of you artists that we have to have food for thought, to share with people. Someone has a loss, an intense loss, have them write the words down. If they're a painter, have them paint. But you said practice, make it into a practice. I think that is a very, very important thing.
Yeah, I mean, or just conversation even. Like,
right.
Make sure.
Let's have conversations about these things. Let's stop sweeping them under the rug.
Right, and it doesn't have to be like, it's been a month, like you can have that conversation forever.
Right, right. Exactly. Juanita, what about you came up in terms of intuitive? Your background, you're from Puerto Rico. I have a lot of friends from Puerto Rico, my Rose, who's there in the audience, but often people from Puerto Rican culture are very connected to spirit and visitation. What comes up for you?
So my mom's still alive.
Yeah.
My grandmother passed away in 2017, though, which, so the way I think it works for me, it's that it's very sensual. It has to do with smells, sounds, and sometimes out of something will trigger a memory or a sensation. I also have I call it the Rolodex of all these references that I can tap into when I'm drawing.
Take me back to that. What do you call it?
I call it the Rolodex.
So I call it the Rolodex of my mind,
Yeah.
right? No, we can actually see, Rose is shaking her head. You can actually see those index cards flipping through it.
Yeah. And or a song,
Visual.
right? I play some salsa or something. But you know what is funny? I have a ritual in the morning, which is that I drink coffee and I put sugar and I stir it and it makes a clacking sound. And that relates to my grandfather because I never drank coffee until later in life when I moved to New York. But so when I'm drawing, I just simply let my hand go through it, and I draw with watercolor pencils, which means that I can draw, erase until I find the right shapes that I want to use. And because I have this dictionary of images
going through your head.
Yeah, I just go, seed, part heart, part this. So that's the way I do drawings, and they look like these weird hybrid creatures because they are. I'm taking, it's like a Frankenstein creature. I borrow from different places to create one image, but it's also this thing that I could be, like Toto said, I could be listening to the news, which is sometimes a bad idea. Because sometimes I go like
all the time.
And then I'm going and I'm like, look at that. Of course, if I turn the radio off and I stop listening to Tens and Wings, so it's kind of like an accumulation of those things, and the layers are both metaphorical but also physical at the same time. So that's how I build imagery. It's through memories, things that are like there, but you don't know that they're there, but they're there too. Smell, sounds, etc.
Well, in acting, we have an exercise that's called sense of memory, and it's accessing those things. Jody, I'm going to ask you this. Was any part of this painful for you to, because these works existed before, but this show was about mothers. It was being launched around Mother's Day, right? And I remember I'm very careful when I go on social media around Mother's Day. I always say whether you are a mother or have a mother or you're the mother of a fur baby or you loved your grandmother, we have a reason to celebrate. And I do that because there's a lot of pain for a lot of people. I was reading an article about a caregiver whose mother had completely abused them, right? So there is pain with mothering. What did any of that come up for you when you were doing this?
Not really. I mean, my mother's been dead for quite a long time now, for over 20 years, and
Mine too.
I love my mother. She was a sweetheart. She was a very sweet, gracious person who liked to do art. She did, she painted and she took classes all the time. She was very supportive of me, particularly at first being an artist. I think partially because she figured I'd just get married anyway. But, hey, that's okay, I think of this, when I think of this with my mother, this particular body of work, I think she would find it amusing, actually.
Amusing.
I think she
your
would think that's
perception.
kind of funny.
Right.
Yeah, and all of these animations, well, these two women had fairly bleak stories, but the animations are kind of funny, because, I don't know, I seem to enjoy finding some humorous bit to point out. And
No, you like the bleak story.
I do like
It's
the
great.
I
You
really
turned it
like
into
the bleak story.
I know, but nobody would ever get the feeling it's not bleak. It's like you try and figure out what's going on
Right.
in it, and it hits you.
Yeah.
And again, for me, it's the way she's it was very Americana in
Right.
feeling. Why is she wearing all that armor?
Right.
It has the viewer pause and think for a minute.
Right.
What is going on with the subject here?
Right. Right.
Which is really, really interesting. Right. For all three of you, let's talk about when you first discovered that you were an artist. Because I don't like using the word when you wanted to be an artist. When did you first discover your artisticness? Let's call it that. I'll start with you, Toto.
I mean, it's in retrospect, I can look at things and be like, oh yeah, in middle school, my first thing that I wanted to was do the project that had drawing in it. But there was no art in school. And even though my mom was an artist, I didn't, maybe especially because my mom was an artist, and I didn't feel like, oh, that's going to be my thing. I was like, I'm going to find my own thing. Maybe it'll be different. I didn't think, you're a kid, think this.
Well, was that intimidating to you in any way as a little kid?
I don't know so much intimidating as just, yes, probably intimidating because she's a very good artist. Yeah, so intimidating, yes. And also, I just sort of thought I'll just get my own lane, I don't need to
And you did.
I did.
That's exactly what.
Absolutely,
what you did.
I did. Yeah, but by the time I was in high school, I was like, oh, this art, I kind of like it. And then I was also very lucky to be here in New York City and have excellent mentors, and there was really cool art going on, and people are in the room, and I was like, oh, you don't have to be any kind of a there's no one way you have to do it. It's it can be something. It could be political. It could be you could be inspired by so many different things. You don't have to be perfect at drawing before you can call yourself an artist, which was for some reason my takeaway about art. Even though I grew up in seeing all kinds of different kinds of art.
Yeah, Soho, you saw
Yeah,
everything.
saw everything. So I had a lot of talk about the Rolodex. I had all the art. But I didn't relate myself
Limiting our heads.
specifically. But then I just was like, oh, I just started to make art without any formal training. And then I was lucky enough to have some art teachers too who were like, oh, great, just keep doing that. And this was already in high school. But I didn't go to art school because I thought, that's, that I'm not really good at. It's not me. I'm not
Right,
really
you weren't,
good.
you didn't think
I'm
you
not-
were good enough.
I'm not really good. I
right.
don't know what I can't draw. I can't draw a person. It's embarrassing. But when I went to regular college, I was like, something's missing. And I decided I needed to go to art school. And so I did. And then I was like, this is it.
And you found your space.
100%. Like, right away, I was like, this is totally it.
And you were with other
I
artists.
was with other artists, and I was like, yeah, these are my people. This is me. Yeah.
And they had your back.
Totally.
Totally had your
Yeah.
back.
Yeah.
Juanita, what about you?
I so I don't come from an art background, and my dad thought it was a bad idea to study art. He's like, "You do not do that. You need a job and
Real job,
and all, yeah." But my mom, it's very interesting. I was very insecure, so. My mom always told me drawing. I once draw on the walls, and she's like, "Actually, I'm gonna buy you papers." So I took a Sharpie and I drew on the refrigerator when I was like 4 or 5, and she said, "Now you do that on paper." But anyway,
Your mother is very calm about that.
no, well, she got upset, but she said, "Could you not lie to me, and I'll give
Right.
you paper?" But long story short, so she always pushed for that, and it's not until I was in high school, 11th grade, that I went to an art high school in Puerto Rico, and I
You were in
found
an art high
a
school,
it was 2 years, but I was telling Jody before that I had a great teacher that he saw something and he said, "Actually, I think you should apply to art school." My dad is like, "That's a bad idea, be an art teacher instead." I did, but I was not really feeling that, so I did switch and I enrolled in art. My dad didn't talk to me for a week. But long story short, it wasn't until then. It was actually when I finished my bachelor's that I knew that this is what I wanted to
You
do.
knew it,
Because
yeah.
I felt like I said, you know what, I don't know if I was living a lie, but I felt the happiness and the satisfaction, and I was sharing this with Jody, and my mom said, you can be an artist if what you need is a job. Just get any job that gives you health insurance and
Right, it's all about health insurance, isn't it?
Exactly.
At the end of the
But
day.
I felt that, and I was very fortunate when I moved to New York. I got jobs that were connected to the arts, etc. So
That's great.
I find that that's what I wanted to do, and I said I'm just gonna do it and be an artist. It was
And-
more about being the artist than
Right.
anything else.
Well, at the end of the day, it is about being the artist and being the artist any way you can. And Jody, what about you?
I have kind of similar story to Juanita. I always did art, and I always liked doing art a lot. But I remember my father said to me, there's a really good school in Rhode Island. Maybe you should do that. And I'm like, I'm not good enough. And then I had a teacher. She only taught 1 year at my really miserable public high school in Oswego, New York.
You survived
But
it,
she
though.
was great. She was great, and she encouraged me. Once I had her telling me, she told me, she had gone to RISD, and she said you should apply, and I did, and because once she said I could do it, I believed her.
Right.
And then I was very happy, and I did feel the same way about like your people. When you go to art school and you're like, oh, these are my people. I didn't know they were all
That's
there.
really, it's like the tribe of artists. It's a really important thing to remember. I mean, someone believed in you, Jody, that got you to RISD it's extremely competitive. And, what I get from the three of you, you're very humble. And actually, a lot of the artists that I've met through Wendell and on the Lower East Side, they do all share that in common. It really is about the art. It's about creating art and getting their art out there. So what frustrates you all about the art scene in New York? I'm keeping my mouth shut. Is there?
Speak up.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just that there's like in such a narrow path to recognition, and that path is through commodity,
Right.
and that's not cool.
Right. Right. Commodity has become the thing.
Yeah.
What about you?
I don't even know how to answer that.
Yeah, but
that,
what do you feel when you know, because we all read, right? And we see a hot new artist. They love plucking them fresh out of RISD, by the way. So for some reason, being in your 20s can make you a greater artist than someone that's been doing it their whole life. Go ahead.
something that I think, this may not be answering the question, but I find I find it very invigorating and inspiring to see women that, I'm 52 years old,
You're
women
a
that
baby.
now are like, I know women that in their 50s, 60s, and 70s,
Yeah.
they're really kicking
Kicking butt.
they're very accomplished. And I have to say something, although I love drawing and I made art, I've been making art for 30 years, I was very insecure on how to present it, and I have bodies of work that people don't know. I used to work at a museum and gallery, and people thought I was a curator, art historian, and I'm like, no, I'm an artist. So when I got tired of like kind of like, I don't know, I felt closeted, I said, you know what, I'm just gonna make this is my identity here. I wanted to work with artists.
Yeah.
I wanted to do things, but also I'm thinking, wait, but when am I gonna show my work, right? And I did. I don't want to get into details how I did that. I also took some pauses as I was raising my child, and I have a very supportive partner. I'm married to an artist, so it's interesting. I don't want to compare my situation with other people. I just feel that I just want to continue to do the work that I do. I want
Your
to
own
be taken
path.
seriously, my
Yeah.
own path.
Your own path.
So my complaint is that we don't know where this world is going right now. It's very uncertain, but I feel like that's another reason why to continue to make art. So
Right.
just gonna leave it there for now.
At the end of the day, we need to make art, right?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, for me, it's always, you know, I think I've often had issues dealing with, like everybody, dealing with the art world, because it's a difficult world. And to me, I mean, it sounds so incredibly corny, but it is kind of true. I just want to keep making stuff. And that's like what, that's my life, is making stuff. And it still is. And I'm lucky now because I taught for many years. Eventually, I taught for about 20 years. And now I'm retired. And I can't believe that I have all this time.
You can make
And
stuff
I just
now.
get to make stuff
a lot of
constantly.
stuff.
I never stopped, though. What I did do when I was teaching, I did show less. That did really affect my life when I had a more demanding.
Right, because
job.
you hadn't put your focus on teaching and
Yeah.
it gave you less time, but
Yeah.
now you have time to make things,
I
right?
make a lot of stuff.
And
makes
to
me really
actually
happy.
make a lot of stuff. I do want to get questions from the audience. Are we good now, Wendell, to do that? Yeah, okay. So first of all, thank you, lovely audience, for being here tonight and listening and supporting us. And I want to hear from the audience. Some questions, please. You look like a man that has something to say.
Well, I guess I better come up with something now. Wow. Well, what about? I mean, this is not necessarily about the art world, but New York.
Yeah.
How is New York? I mean, you grew up in New York. I mean, how is it deal with New York? I mean, it's the greatest place in the world and the worst place in the world all at the same time. If you're an artist. So yeah, just general thoughts about making art in New York.
Well, I don't have a separate studio, so my bedroom is my studio, my living room is my studio, which is fine. But over time, that's that reality of New York has sort of been challenging, and that's part of the reason why I make small work now. But I've always made small work. Like even in art school, they were like, "You got to make
You're making
this
small work."
Yeah, they were like, "This is too small. Like you got it." But I would say, I mean, I feel like I refuse to give up on New York. Like I won't, and I also, it still gives me something constantly, every minute of every day, something beautiful.
Yeah.
Like the people here are, continue to be like interesting, and there's just so many moments of connection, and just the variety of life that takes place. And even with the changes that have occurred, definitely there's some neighborhoods where I don't really know where I am anymore. Like all those buildings are different. Like nothing is the same, but it's still the street. I actually kind of think about it a lot because I feel like there's a little piece of me everywhere. And So yeah, and that matters.
I love that.
Oh, well, I'm a transplant, but
Transplants, there's so many people here that are transplants.
But I love something about when I first moved to New York. I moved to the Bronx because I have family here. They're all in Florida now, but that's where I landed.
I grew up in the Bronx.
Where in the Bronx?
Kingsbridge.
Oh, so I live by Bainbridge Avenue.
Oh my God! I went to Walton High School.
Road. Oh yes, I know where that is. So I live there, and then I moved. Yeah,
And
and then I moved
we're
down
having that New
to.
York moment that
Yeah.
you just talked about, right here at Pangea.
And you know what? I came here in '99, so it's kind of on the verge of that. You could still find an apartment.
Right.
And I had two roommates, so I live in New Jersey and then moved back to the Bronx. And I live in East Harlem now with my husband. But most of the time most of the day I'm in the Bronx, really. So that's where I kind of like my world evolves. It's like or develops. It's in the Bronx, by Crotona, any neighborhood in the Bronx. And I have a fascination for New York. Like, I mean, there's places that I go like, wait, what happened here? Like, I don't recognize some places because they're changing very fast in ways that I go like, But there's still something, and I live in a neighborhood where you can say hi to people in the street, and I'm all for that. So that's something that I love about New York. So
Yeah. Well, it inspires you. It inspires you, and
Me too.
I know, right?
I love New York. I love the city very, very much. And I like to travel and I go other places and I love them too and they're very interesting. But I really love New York. And I know it had so much to do with everything that I am now as an artist and as a person. And it's a great city and it's a difficult city. I was lucky in a lot of ways. I hounded these slumlords in the Lower East Side till they gave me this cheap apartment, which they tried to burn down several years later.
Oh my God!
But whatever. But it was.
You're still there.
New York
Yeah, she's still in that apartment, and now we have a rent freeze on a lot of those apartments. So yeah, let's hear it for the rent freeze. Yeah.
It's a great place. It's a great place.
Yeah, the next one. So yeah, all good.
Yeah, that was a good question that you asked because it really got New York can be very challenging. It's very expensive here, and yeah, how do artists survive, right? Well, they all have other jobs, teaching and things that they do. A lot of artists I know also are able to survive through their artist network, right? The tribe. How do you all feel about collaboration? What works for you about collaborating with other artists?
Well, I mean, I think it's you need your community.
You need your
know,
community.
We need
Yeah.
each other. I mean, at basic level as humans, but specifically because art is something that isn't super supported by our culture, and we've gone through like ups and downs in like our lifetime, and we're in like a trough. And so I think that like collaboration and community is the way that we make sure that the legacy goes on. Like we're not the first, we won't be the last, and also while we're doing it, we can make it fun for each other and ease the burden for each other.
We'll make it fun for each other. Yeah.
What I was gonna add back to what Toto was saying was this thing of the community. And when I came to New York, I was very fortunate. I had these weird jobs, but I also landed at the Bronx Museum at the time, and I work as a visitor services. It's a bunch of things with that title. But what was great was that I met a curator there at the time. His name is Edwin Ramoran. He's now in Palm Springs, California. But that man was like we're a year apart. He was my mentor, teacher. We had a great friendship. He's Filipino American, and along with an advice my husband now, John Ahern, gave me, he said, find your tribe here, your community, who are these people. And this thing of going out and working with people actually helped me get jobs, find out information about things that I needed, etc. And actually, that's a community that I'm still nurturing. I learned through Student School, which is the organization that I work for, through those artists too. And I said, oh, so what do you, how do you get a paycheck here? How do you pay the bills?
Get a paycheck?
Oh, I teach. So it was this kind of like beautiful community that kind of helped me remain in New York, because the first year here can be really crazy, especially if you don't speak English, you don't have a job. So that's how I find my home here, through friends and networks.
Your tribe.
My tribe,
as we say.
yeah.
I kind of also found my home early on. A friend who I'd gone to college with, I didn't finish RISD, but she introduced me, Jane Dixon, who's, she introduced me to everybody I knew when I first moved here.
Where did you finish?
Where did you
Oh,
finish?
I went to Harvard.
See, I told you she was humble. Jody's humble. She told you she dropped out of RISD. I wasn't even going to mention Harvard. Thank you. You were, Jody, you were just outed.
But anyway, but really, it is true. Like, I think practically everybody I know gets traced back to somebody I met through Jane originally, and long ago. And then but I like working. I do like collaboration. I don't like it all the time,
Right.
but I have worked, particularly some kinds of things. It's really hard to do it on your own, and I've had a lot of, I've that's been important to me at different times, so anyway.
I want to take some more questions from the audience. Yes, Rose.
You started talking about the coffee. It just brought me back memories. Like I would have coffee with my father, and today was his birthday. Oh, my father's birthday too. They were loving men. The ones at, I remember that early in the morning, we went to work, get up at 5, and I would hear him trickling in the kitchen. I'm going to still sleeping. And we would have this coffee together, and it was the most precious, because it was my dad and I. And he would make it, and just the idea that I would, it's like I'm savoring it. I'm just savoring that coffee. Oh, that was sweet.
And you savor the memory. It's a memory.
And I have a coffee.
Right. Rose has a coffee group on Facebook for any of you that would like to become part of it. She's always taking new people on.
My coffee family.
It is a coffee family. People put up memes and all kinds of things of their coffee on a daily basis. So there you have. I know, right? See, we were talking about it, and you're smelling it, right? And she's savoring it. Wendell.
Yeah, just wanted to.
First of all, wait, a round of applause for Wendell, who's producing not only the Sudan, but what you see on the walls, you're amazing, and the support that you give to the art community is just incredible, really.
I was just going to ask about the show, though. Obviously, you're in the show. We talked a little bit about before we went live here. But are there other pieces in the show that surprise you? And seeing your work in the context of other pieces, are there any surprises or other people's works that really stand out to you in an interesting way? That's another loaded question.
Janet. Oops, Janet, you called me out. So Janet has a beautiful piece here. I don't really want to try and interpret it. But sorry.
Janet
can.
I copy work to learn, and so that's copy / interpretation. Go again. And where I live in Jamaica, we had a problem with streetwalkers, and we went. One morning, I got up in the neighborhood. People in the neighborhood were on each corner where they worked, and gradually it stopped. But in that, I saw some of the women who were working the street. There's one woman, her child came out to her, I guess wanted money or something. But the idea of what women will do to support their children stuck with me. And that, of course, it wasn't a good time, but I incorporated that into how I interpreted the painting.
That's really incredible what women will do to support their children. I certainly think a show like this, and my God, the work is so varied. it's how each person interprets mother, right? And each one of these works on the wall, you really have to stand in front of it and think about what it brings up for you, because it is highly personal. It's symbolic in a lot of ways. When Wendell, when you first talked about that you were going to be doing this show on mothers, in my minute little mind, I'm like, oh, I guess people are going to be painting portraits of mom, and it was anything but that, right?
Of course, this is Angela. Angela's baby here.
It was really, what do we say, out of the box, symbolic, and truthful, right? This is like incredible authenticity. So,
and truly, I did not know what we would get when I sent out the call to artists for the show. I said, it's really up to you what you want to do.
Yeah, and were you surprised at the work when it appeared here?
Was I surprised? I felt honored.
Honored, I love that. Yeah.
I felt honored by it because it was so. Every single artist put a lot of care
And thought into the pieces that they were putting on the walls.
into what they submitted. Yeah, I would say that.
And I do credit Angela. In fact, I realized all the artists in the show have great respect for her also. I've got every.
Yeah, a round of applause, really, for Angela.
Yeah, just when I was thinking about community, I wanted to say that about Angela, that like this really reflects your nurturing of this community.
Of the arts community.
Yeah, I'm very grateful. Thank you.
Don't you feel like a proud mama right now?
Thank you for that.
Yes.
My question's for you. You mentioned something about not being able to mourn here. Maybe you're talking about literally mourning the passing of mothers. What do you mean by that?
Not being able to mourn.
Yeah.
I personally feel, so my husband's work is outside of the room and on that wall. And when he passed, it was after COVID, right? And Toto was able to get an in-person support group when her mother passed. That's very important, I feel, to talk to other people, right? We've had all of these conversations here tonight about tribe and community and all of that. Imagine I lost him and all I wanted was people to talk to. Now, Rose knows I have an incredible group of friends, and I got everybody together that night. We all went to Julia's bar and raised a glass to Alan. But what I was lacking, I wanted to be with other people that had lost somebody so close to them. And all that was offered to me was online, and that was okay. From the churches to the social workers to what visiting nurse service, where when she went, you had people in the group. Not one live group in New York City, not one. I think at my last total was like 80 places. So what I decided to do, I have a lot of wonderful friends that have lost somebody, right? And we all got together. And for me, that was very healing and nurturing. But I still strongly feel this online thing, I understand doing it during COVID. Okay, but there's no reason why they can't bring back those support groups, and they are not out there. And I've spent a lot of time in the African culture. My God, when you lose anybody over there, it's, everyone's there and you talk about the person, you're all there for each other. How can you in the United States of America offer somebody a Zoom meeting? It is so cold and so impersonal and so not dealing with what we are as human beings. Yeah, so that's what I meant by that. Did that answer it for you? Yeah, I still talk about it all the time. If I had the time, I would put together support groups. I have friends right and left that are losing people all over the place. We have Facebook, which is crazy, right? But thank God we have it because we can at least connect with each other. But I really believe we're losing the ability to reach out and touch and communicate. And I'm going to take it back to this show here, because when you look at the beautiful works on the wall, all right, that artist is communicating something to you. That artist is talking. That artist is making you think. And that artist is making you respond. It's a very human thing. Yes.
I'm sitting here thinking about your question about what's wrong with the art scene,
Yeah.
if we call it that.
The art scene, yeah.
And I can't help but think that in the past, in, let's say, authoritarian atmospheres, art has become a subversive element in culture. And I'm just wondering whether, and I don't feel there's been a lot of that happening even in New York City. I'm wondering what you all think about just that idea of art as something subversive, and whether art can sort of rise to the occasion and meet it.
Meaning art rising to the occasion of what we are now as people and what our environment is and where we are currently,
Well,
like
I
in
think
2026.
Rising to the occasion, that there's a need for
Yeah.
subversiveness. And I think art in the past has been the most subversive element in society in situations like that. And so I'm hoping for that. I think it's something that we're going to need. And I'm wondering, is there a future? Should I be even less pessimistic than I already am?
Don't be pessimistic. What does everybody think?
I mean, I actually don't know of any particular group of artists right now that I can really point to and say like, oh yeah, they're making stuff that's very specifically critical of our terrible government and the atrocities that are happening. But I would definitely say that I've been part of musical situations that, you know, are more comfortable in that space and at protests and things like that. And I've definitely seen a collaboration of like artists and musicians who just individually who come, you know, to things and whatever their skills are. So it might be more diffuse, but artists are involved. They're just not like making a painting that says that thing. Maybe some art.
Yeah. No, I like what you mentioned about the disciplines, different disciplines kind of clapping back, right? I do know of a few artists that they do quick interventions. There's an artist, I think his name is Jonathan, and he uses the screens in the subway and he has text and he puts that over. I know another artist from the Bronx Coast, Shalene Rodriguez, and in addition to her art practice, she's actually engaged in community organizing. So and then there's a lot of people that are not necessarily doing this in places where we can see, but you can see in the little victories, like this whole thing of rent freezing. I think there were organizations that were pushing for this for a long time, because I think there was something with COVID assistance during that time with rent, right? So there's instances where people are pairing with other organizations to push for, because you know what, in addition to the leadership we have, I think there's systemic problems within everything from healthcare to access to pretty much anything, mental health, and there's people pushing for that change. We may not see it because it's not on social media, but the little victories, and I feel like, I mean, I want to know more about that and be of some way of supporting that, but I think there's already some of these things, and it's dance, literary, spoken word, poetry, music, all of it, cooking for other people, doing mutual help, gardening, right? So yeah. Cigars. I didn't know about that one, but anything that brings people together so that they can talk. Mutual aid, yeah, and support.
Actually, this isn't art, but scientists that were fired from the weather, agency, they have started their own service. They compiled information and they are offering a service to the public that they're replacing what the government isn't doing. Right. So what you're talking about is happening in places, and you know, that's an example.
I think other, Hands Off NYC, has, they have a space on 23rd Street where a lot of artists have been going to make these art builds, and I love participating in that. It's really great. It's less like making your art, that's about this. It's like making stuff for all these protests, for materials to be distributed throughout the whole city and to all the different organizations that are protesting. And to me, that has felt like very meaningful to be able to go there and help them make some signs and and also to try and help think about ways to distribute it in different neighborhoods and stuff like that.
And it empowers people.
Yeah.
I know the Pride March on Sunday, my God, you want to talk art, the signage was incredible. Libby, you were there. It was just absolutely unbelievable. You could have grabbed 50 pieces and put a show on with it. It was so from the people. It was so grassroots. People are realizing through the arts, they can really take and try and make their own way now. Because if we look at everything around us, if we look at corporations, government, all of that's not for the people now. Okay, we all have to take what we can do and reach out there and do it. Do you have any other questions? Yes.
We're talking about getting what's it called emotional support.
Yeah.
When my husband passed away, I belonged, still do, to a cigar lounge. I'm a member there when we started over this since 1990. And my husband was very well loved and respected. But when he passed away, my mind said, oh my God, what am I going to do? And it was all those men.
Interesting.
That were my support. And not the women, the men. And one of the owners came to get the hospital when my husband was dead. And he said to me, I'm going to open the lounge at 10 in the morning. Because usually they would open it like at 1. And he said, because I want you to get up, brush your teeth, whatever, and at 10 o'clock, I want you to be here. Because this is going to be, I want to see you. I don't want to see you at home crying. And that became like a family, became like my other home. I would get up, of course I'd cry and everything, but I would get there, and the gentlemen that were there, Rose, let's get coffee, Rose. And it was this that sustained.
Right, because it's community. It's right. And I think, like, you heard today as artists that it's a very powerful thing to be able to create that,
And they meant it,
Right.
It wasn't fake. It was like you can feel the genuine love there.
Yeah.
And that's what sustained me to overcome my grief.
Everything, yeah. Thank you. Do you have any other questions? Concerns? Thank you all really for being here tonight. Angela, you're a rock star. Angela, and Angela's going to be in our next talk, which is July 7th, right after the holidays. So for those of you who can come back, please do. And Wendell, of course, will be here as well. And you know what? A shout out and a big hug to Pangea. This place has single-handedly kept all of the arts alive. Like the artwork here has become a huge part, but this stage here, so many people that you've heard of have performed here. So many people that were up and coming that became something. They've just been so incredible. We have this stage, we have the front room, there's always stuff going on. So it's such a slice of heaven here, still in New York, right?
Wendy, thank you.
Thank you. So I do a show from here. I do a nationwide podcast. I'm in that corner booth over there. Every Wednesday, it's called If These Walls Could Talk. And it's very appropriate because if these walls could talk, they would. But they don't. So I have to do the talking, but I interview entertainers, artists, celebrities, filmmakers, and my show tomorrow, I'm putting on one of my amazing explorer friends. I am a member of the Explorers Club. I go to remote parts of the world and make films about frustrating subjects like guerrilla poaching and how tribal people are losing their ancestral land. So I have an explorer coming on, right? We know about this. I have an explorer coming on tomorrow. And for any of you who want to tune in, you could just go to Wendy Stuart TV on YouTube and 2:00 tomorrow. Thank you all so much for being here tonight. A round of applause for our amazing artists, please. Yay.
Maybe I can't live to love you as long as I want to. Life isn't long enough, baby, but I can love you as long as I live. Yeah, maybe I can't give you diamonds and things like I want to, but I can promise you, baby, I'm gonna want you as long as I live. Well, I never cared, but now I'm scared I won't live long.